Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for our Tuesday edition video, which is going to be an upgrade commander build video here on Brisbane. So, getting right into it, I often like to talk about what type of ship are we talking, or am I highlighting, featuring here today. And of course, yes, Brisbane is a light cruiser, but what type of light cruiser is she? Like a long-range sniping cruiser, a quote-unquote brawling light cruiser that's not too much of a thing? Or more of a mid-range cruiser. And I would say she's a mid-range cruiser in the sense that when I say mid-range for high tier, I'm thinking more around the 12-kilometer window. Also, that a full concealed build gets you around 9.8. So you do have 2.2 kilometers of play area between being able to radar and not be detected. But let's go ahead and talk more about the ship as a whole. First off, with the armor. Very similar to Minotaur, and let's just like check that. So I don't want to be making things up if it turns out it's like, no, it's not similar at all. Yeah, no, it's the same. You never know. Sometimes you gotta check. Sometimes wargaming slips some things in. Can be different from time to time, but 16 millimeter on the bow and stern, and then you have your Citadel armor, your armor belt, 101 millimeters. So it is possible to bounce some heavier shells, larger shells, but a lot of the overmatch at high tier 9, 10, and super ships doesn't really care about your armor when you're playing the light cruiser life. You can see your most vulnerable area is actually just beneath the smokestacks. That's where the Citadel comes up the highest. So if you are shooting a Brisbane or Minotaur, this is the area you want to go for most, even if you're a destroyer like Ragnar, Elbing, right, some French, or close enough with the other type of destroyer, you can easily Citadel through the armor since it's so raised. So that's the area you want to be, as a Brisbane player, you want to be mindful of in protecting. Now, in terms of her guns, they have 102 millimeter, which lessens to 51 millimeter. Same story on the back, and also on the top, it's even worse, 38 millimeter. So it is possible to have these guns knocked out. So we'll talk about one of the upgrades I take to help prevent that. And also, we want to talk about these torpedoes too, right? Because these torpedoes are really exposed. You get 20 torpedoes, all said and done, 10 per side, and they're 13.5 kilometer range, and we'll talk more about those. And you have the opportunity to single launch those as well. I didn't mention that in yesterday's video. In terms of her modules, there's no upgrades here. These are 152 millimeter guns. With the main battery modification 3 in slot 6, we get the reload time down to 4.4 seconds. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure it's 5 seconds. Your 180-degree turn time is 5.4 seconds. You have both high explosive and armor piercing, unlike Minotaur, which only has armor piercing. 2,150 and 3,200. Your hull is 43,300, and you can see your armor ranges from that 13 to 127 millimeter. Torpedoes, with one of our commander skills, we've helped reduce that reload time. I'm pretty sure we've gotten on that to 117.9 seconds. Otherwise, it's a bit longer. 13.5 kilometer torpedo range. They hit for 16,767. Now, you could buff that if you want to take Pack-a-Punch. We can talk about it. Torpedo speed, 65 knots. Gun range, 15.8 kilometers. And then propulsion, 110,000 horsepower, being 33.5 knots. So you're not fast per se as a light cruiser. There are other cruisers and battleships that outrun you. Of course, a lot of destroyers in the game. So I tend to find it helpful taking Sarah Mike to get up to 35.2 knots. For the first upgrade, I would recommend taking Main Armaments Modification 1. This is going to reduce the risk of your main battery and torpedo tubes becoming incapacitated by negative 20%. Main battery and torpedo tube survivability plus 50%. Main battery and torpedo tube repair time, negative 20%. Right, torpedoes are pretty vulnerable. They're exposed. Your gun armor plating is weak. So I would encourage taking this over any of the other skills listed here, or sorry, upgrades listed here. You also have Auxiliary Armaments Modification 1. You're not always going to have CVs, so just improving your A mount survivability, I really wouldn't so much recommend going for here, when you're going to get a lot more use out of the main Armaments Modification 1. You don't need Magazine Modification 1. Reduces the risk of your ship's magazine detonating by -70%. You can just take Julie Charlie Combat Signal, which completely eliminates the risk of your ship's magazine detonating. In the third slot, what I've done is I've gone for more of the radar build. You know, this is a 12-kilometer radar. Action time of 24 seconds when you stack on the surveillance radar modification. So basically, it's 20 seconds before, and then with this it becomes 24 seconds if I've done the math correct in my head. Otherwise, if you don't have the coal to spend, then I would just say go for the engine room protection, which reduces the risk of your engine and steering gears becoming incapacitated by -20%, and engine and steering gears repair time also reduced by -20%. Third slot, since we have really good turret traverse, what was it, 5 seconds I said? 5.4. I've gone for Aiming Systems Mod 1 to reduce the maximum main battery shell dispersion, being -7%, meaning we're getting tighter maximum horizontal and tighter vertical maximum dispersion. So tighter shell groupings, which I quite like. Your torpedo tube traverse speed is +20%, secondary battery firing range +5%, in maximum secondary battery shell dispersion -5%. Now I realize this is normally when I put the differences in terms of the meters between with or without Aiming Systems Mod 1 here on the lower right side of the screen, but WoW's fitting tool is no longer a thing. They've stopped actively using it. So I don't know if I need to look at WoW Shipbuilder for that now, so apologies, it's not going to be here on this video. But basically you're going to be taking anywhere between probably 4 to 10 meters off in terms of having tighter shell dispersion. Otherwise, if you're feeling like you want to go for a torpedo build on Brisbane, which I'll talk about if I remember to, you could take Torpedo Tubes Mod 1. This is going to increase your speed by +5%, so you're going from what, 60 knots to like 63 knots, and you're going to also reduce risk of torpedo tubes becoming incapacitated by -40%. Oh, that's a mouthful. You can also buff your AA guns Mod 1. Prior to AA sector preparation time reduced by -20%. Let's see, where is that at? Prior sector reinforcement, action time 10 seconds, preparation time 10 seconds. So it actually comes off cooldown really quick, actually. So what, you get that down to 8 seconds if you really wanted it. I only mention this, I don't normally mention it just because this is a very strong AA cruiser. It's among the top 3 or 4 AA cruisers in the game. So I just want to draw attention to that, but in generally speaking, I think Aiming Systems Mod 1 is the best. Fourth slot, you have, like Minotaur and other British cruisers, you have propulsion already baked in. So it's not listed as an option here, otherwise that's what I would be recommending. Since it's already baked into the ship, then I just say go for Steering Gears Mod 1. Rotor shift time, -20%. I've actually had games where I've gotten close to 2 million potential damage just because I'm accelerating, slowing down, using steering, rudder shift, just because I've not been able to utilize island coverage and things like that. Just how a game has gone as an example. But this is the best one to take here. Fifth slot, you want to build into your Conceal. So -10% range, squadron detectability range -10%, and dispersion of shells fired by enemies attacking your ship +5%. So the max concealed build gets you down to 9.8 by sea and 6.9 by air. And the nice thing is that your A defense is 6.9 kilometers. So as soon as anything spots you by air, your A guns will begin firing at like basically 6.7, 6.6 because the A guns aren't like loaded. For some reason there's a lag delay on that, so which is a bit frustrating. Ask Wargaming, I don't know why they do what they do sometimes. 6 slot main battery mod 3. This reduces your main battery reload time by -12%, main battery traverse speed -13%. So If you're wondering why your 180 degree turn time looks different than mine and you don't have main battery mod 3, that's the reason why. But it's really 5.4 seconds is completely fine to have that faster DPM to get you down from 5 to 4.4 seconds. If you wanted to go for a longer range, I don't really recommend it here on Brisbane, just because she has slower shell travel time. This would take you up to probably 17.5, maybe close to 18. But it's not worth it, just because Brisbane isn't this long range HE spamming AP cruiser. Like Yoda would do better, as an example. Zao would be better in that. So I don't really recommend this. Now, if you're going for a torpedo build, which again I'll talk about, then you could do this, and this would reduce your torpedo reload time. So if I pull up my calculator here, you see it's 117.9, and that's going to be negative 15%. Oops, I missed the times. 117 point. I hit a wrong button, sorry. 9 times 0.85, it'd bring you down to 100-second reload time, which can have its place in competitive, right? I've seen this run in King of the Seas a lot. So you go for the torps and you go for the radar to help control the cap objective, while maybe not always using your guns unless you have a friendly destroyer smoke you up. So that is something worth mention. Also, you could further buff the AA. Not going to do anything with in terms of your secondary battery. You don't get a secondary battery, same case as with Minotaur. But you can buff your AA damage to ridiculous levels. If I pull this back up, see, it said it did plus 15%. Damage from AA shell explosions plus 15%, and then you get 2 more explosions produced by your AA defense salvos when the defensive AA fire consumable is activated, but you don't have that here. But overall, you're just getting much more damage from your shell explosions, and your continuous damage is going to go up. So for fun, I can just tell you what that is now without having to spend all the money to see what that would be. So you go 2,717 damage by shell explosions, and then your continuous damage is going to go up to 612.95. So yeah, it does make a difference if you did go for an AA build here on Brisbane. Armament, 4.4 second reload time, 2,150 maximum damage with these high explosive shells, a 9% chance of causing a fire on target. Now if you take these 2 combat signals, Victor Lima and India X-Ray, it's going to bump you up to 10%. Armor penetration capacity, 30 millimeter. I don't really recommend running an IFHE build here on Brisbane. I feel like I should just say that. I can look at that more maybe. Initial velocity, 768 meters a second, same as Minotaur. Maximum range, 15.8. Your AP, it doesn't have those improved characteristics like Minotaur has, so don't expect to get the same AP performance like you do in Minotaur. Minotaur is just the bomb with the armor piercing, but of course she doesn't get the high explosive. But with the AP, you can do a maximum damage of 3,200. Torpedoes, 117.9 second reload time currently, 13.5 kilometer torpedo range, 16,767 maximum damage, 65 knot speed, and detectability range of 1.3 kilometers. So you can get good use out of these torpedoes. I've dove struck destroyers, cruisers. I haven't never struck a battleship yet. That's pending. Depth charge airstrike. I always forget how to phrase this one. Depth charge airstrike. You have a reload time of 30 seconds, 2 available flights, aircraft HP 2000, a maximum range of 8 kilometers, which is really nice. Again, comparing with Minotaur, Minotaur's ship-based depth charges, but the depth charge airstrike I think is a lot better to have, so you can deal better with the submarines than what the Minotaur can. So I really like this. You get 2 bombs and a payload, maximum bomb damage 5,635. So now that also, I think, takes into account, let me look here, air strike depth charge damage, yeah, and depth charge damage plus 15%. So we got a buff there. So you're seeing a higher number. So if you're not that skill mastered, that's why you're seeing 5,635. Consumable wise, standard damage control party for a cruiser, 5-second action time, cooldown time of 60 seconds, unlimited number of charges. Now you get access to specialized repair teams like Minotaur, plus 866. If you take India Delta to improve the amount of health you're able to restore, it's going to jump up to over 1,000, 1,039. Consumable action time 20 seconds, cooldown time 80 seconds. 4 consumables total. Hydroacoustic search, 3.5 detection of torpedoes, 5 of ships, and action time 100 seconds, cooldown time 120 seconds. If you did want to take hydro instead here, that would lengthen your hydro time to 120 seconds versus the 100 seconds. So just something to add on there. Now, of course, you can also take the Sierra Bravo, which extends your action time by plus 10%, so 110 seconds. So then you're looking up over 130 seconds. I think it's 132, something like that, with the you need a special upgrade for the hydroacoustic search. Surveillance radar, 12-kilometer range, 24-second action time with the special upgrade here. Then the cooldown time, is 120 seconds, and you get 4 of these consumables. Now it is important to note that I've taken Superintendent, to get the additional. Otherwise, you have 3 across the board. And then if you take the November Foxtrot, ship consumables preparation reload time reduced by -5%. You can see it begins dropping down these cooldown times much more quickly. So I do like running that here. Now in terms of other combat signals I run here, typically I do something like this. If I'm wanting the additional 10 seconds on my hydro. Otherwise, if I want to increase my fire chance, I go with that. If I want to have a greater flood chance because I have so many torpedoes, then I'll take this. So it's kind of just playing with what do you want as the last one, bouncing between those 3. But typically I think I run something like this. Commander skill wise, let me take you down through the first 10 points here, and then we'll go from there. So I recommend last stand first. The ship remains partially able to sustain speed and maneuverability with the engine and steering gears incapacitated. You need this as a light cruiser, I'd say, just because you don't want to get stuck dead in the water with your damage control party on cooldown. You don't want to be sailing around in circles, as an example, or your rudder shift stuck. So I do recommend taking last stand as the 1-point skill. For a 3-point commander, I would recommend the priority target. I run this because, 1, you don't have smoke, and it does really help me know if I need to go dark, or if there is enemy ships targeting me, and it helps me if I'm open gunboating. Helps me be mindful to be looking around at my surroundings. Maybe there's an enemy battleship targeting me. You kind of saw that an example when Conqueror targeted me when I was we were on Sleeping Giant and I was in the eye. So it just helped me to kind of helps with the map awareness, helps with your situational awareness, which is really needed in playing Brisbane effectively. Now, if you're just a god at map awareness and situational awareness, and you feel fine to go with that priority target, then be my guest. But I think for most players, you're going to be wanting to run priority target. For a 6-point commander, it's up to you. You could go for Adrenaline Rush or Superintendent first. I'd probably just say go for a Superintendent first. I've had games where I've just run out of radar and I don't have any more. Part of it is that submarines are annoying, because if it's submarine or destroyer that's detecting you, then you pop it and then they immediately go underwater, which is really annoying. So this is going to help you overall, give you another hydro, give you another specialized repair party as well. And then for 10-point commander, I'd say for the concealment, right, to reduce that 10%, of detectability range overall to get you down to that 9.8 by air, 9.8 by sea, 6.9 by air. A 13-point commander, then I would recommend going for Adrenaline Rush. So you're having a fast reload time as you lose health, fast reload time on your main battery, torpedo tubes, your airstrike armament, so your depth charges, and then slightly better, more AA damage, assuming you haven't lost AA guns. A 15-point commander, fill the tubes. Your torpedoes are part of your overall damage output, so building into them is very favorable in my opinion, since you get 20 overall. So do take advantage of that. It's one of the things that makes this Brisbane a little more unique than Minotaur, also for the fact that these have a longer range, being the 13.5 kilometer range. And then after 15 point, for 19-point commander, I'd recommend going for the A defense and ASW expert. So it's giving you plus 15% damage on your depth charges. Your A damage, continuous, and damage from shell explosions goes up by plus 25, which is, if you don't have the skill mastered yet, that's why you're seeing these higher numbers. And then you can be activated. That Wargaming changed here recently with the commander update of skills update of 12.10. Was that the ship consumable preparation reload time is reduced by negative 50%. So you can get your this is all consumables like your damage control party, your repair party or repair team, Hydra and radar coming off cooldown much quicker. This isn't just, you know, CV striking you. It's if there's a fighter spotting you, someone drops depth charge airstrike on you, spotter plane detects you, when your AA guns are active. Okay, they can't be off. They have to be active. So that's really phenomenal. And really helps out here. So meaning you can get these longer cooldown time on these consumables off cooldown that much more quickly. So I do really recommend taking this. You know, and you can see, you know, AA defense rating 99, right? That's really strong. And then for the last 2 points, I am looking at taking the focus fire training. It actually reduces your airstrike armament reload time. So I can actually get my depth charges off cooldown, not 30 seconds, but 25.5 seconds. Damage caused with a priority sector activated, plus 1.5%. Priority sector reinforcement, plus 25%. So you go from 50 to 75%. And then number of shell explosions and AA salvos, plus 1. So that's nice to go up to 7 from 6. One of the reasons why I would lean this way more with Brisbane is because she's a really strong AA cruiser. She's one of the best, one of the top 3 or 4 in terms of AA strength. I think Annapolis and maybe one of the other super cruisers beats her out. I can't remember. But she's just phenomenally good. So I like making CVs players suffer and pay when they strike me, and you got to see a little bit of example when the United States went to fly in and strike us yesterday, that he paid for it pretty well just on his first strike alone. If you're not inclined to go for that, consumable enhancements is another option to consider. Just adding a little, you'd add 2.4 seconds with your radar if you have a 24-second build like myself, so then you're getting 26.4 second radar time, and then your hydro is going to go up by plus 10%. So something to keep in mind as well, unless you're just really wanting to get your consumables off cooldown time that much more quickly. This takes now negative 7.5%. That got a buff. Well, that's just, it's for all consumables except the damage control party and repair party. And then maybe you're like, yeah, I want to increase my torpedo speed, or you could take incoming fire alert, give up priority target, and then pick up focus fire training or consumables enhancements. As an example, if you're fine not knowing how many ships are currently targeting you, it's really nerve-wracking when you see this number bloom up to 7. It means your team has died and has left you alone. So that has happened to me. Painful memories here in Brisbane. But overall, really strong ship. If I was to make other recommendations and things, let me just talk about, if you're going to go for a torpedo build, then I would say definitely pick up Pack-a-Punch. It'd probably mean you're giving up. Oh yeah, we can do this for free. For limited time only. Yeah, if you go for more of the torpedo build, right, you can go for that. Can't get access, you know, if, this has been, I've seen it much more in King of the Sea, really competitive. So you could do something like this, and then you're actually full on taking torpedoes here and torpedoes here, right? And then of course you would definitely want to be taking, you'd probably be something more like this, to have longer hydro and increase chances of flooding. Yeah, maybe something like that. If you really want to go for a torpedo build, to build all these things together. I know some players really like running RPF on Minotaur. So if I was going to run RPF here on Brisbane, I'd probably do this build if I want that, you know, greater accessibility to my consumables. Otherwise, if that's not so much of a concern for you, then maybe you would do something like that. These are just examples. It just depends on maybe what you're going for here. Now, with the build that I am taking, the reason why I don't run Survivability Expert is because if I added it, you can see our survivability is going to go up to 47,800. Typically, my experience playing Minotaur, and I've played a lot of Minotaur, is that even if you had a couple thousand additional HP, whatever's typically, generally speaking, if it's a cruiser or battleship, they're going to take you out. With that additional 1,000, doesn't make that much of a difference. Now, not always, okay? I'm just saying, generally speaking, in my experience, in my opinion. So that's why I go for a little bit more for the offensive capability build, which is similar to what I run on Minotaur, which for fun, I'll just show you what I run on Minotaur. So I go for more of an aggressive build here, in building into a longer radar hydro, since the radar has a longer duration action time than it does on Brisbane. So Brisbane, we've just gone for more of wanting the AA. So we have done this video underneath 30 minutes, thankfully. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have Brisbane, what do you like to take? If you have questions on something I didn't cover, or want to get my thoughts more on something, you're welcome to comment below. And of course, other players, viewers can add in to the comments regarding questions, thoughts, and such. So if you liked this video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I would appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.